Welcome back to the Big and Little video blog, and we've got the lovely sky blue yarn this week, and we're joining it with the pink and the slate. And this week's hexagon is a little bit different because instead of going round, we're going to go forwards and backwards in rows. So we're going to start off with the rose yarn. Rose yarn for going in rows is very appropriate. Start off with a slip knot, and then we're going to do 13 chains. I know 13's an unlucky number, some people think, but I always think 13 must be lucky for some people. Now, when you've done your chains, you can count them. You may lose count, like I just did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and one more. So we need 12 in our row, and that last one is the standing chain for double. So we're going to do double crochet, the English UK version, and I'm going to go under 2 bars in that chain and do a double back along the row. And at the end of the row, make sure you go into this final chain here for your last stitch. Oh, there we are. And if you turn the work on its side, you've got your V's there, and you can count to make sure you've got the 12 stitches that you need. And now we're going to join in another colour, and we're using the sky blue. And I'm going to start off by making another slip knot. There we are. And I'll just pull that slip knot through the loop that's on the hook at the moment and tighten it all up. Now I'm going to turn the work because we're going to go back down the row. So I'm going to do 1 chain as a standing chain, and then we're going to do doubles again, and I'm only going to go into the front loop. So when you look at your stitches, normally you go under 2. I'm just going to go under 1. And you'll see why we get ridges along the work. It makes the stripes a little bit more three-dimensional, and it's a new skill. So I'll show you again that there's 2 bars. Normally you'd work under both those bars, but I'm only going to go under 1 there. And it makes you get this slight gappiness along here as you're working, but that does go away. You can see it looks a bit gappy there, which is why we normally go under 2 bars. Don't forget, if you think I'm going a bit too quickly for you, you can pause and rewind and play again. Now when we get to this last stitch, don't forget to go into that last chain, and we're going to do 2 doubles in that one there. So we did an extra one at the beginning. We did a chain and a double into the first stitch, and then 2 at the end. So there should be 2 more stitches on this row. And now we're going to join the slate. So again, I'm going to make a slip knot, and join that in, pull it through that last. And here, and you notice I haven't fastened off the other colours because we're going to use them again, and I'm just going to pull them up from the side. So don't cut off the other colours. And this time we're going to do half trebles, so I'm going to do 2 chains for our standing chain, and then turn. And again, we're going to work into the front loop only, and I'm going to do one right into the very first chain that we were in before to increase. So we've got 2 in that first one, and then again into this front loop only of this first stitch. Now it's got a bit loose there. I need to pull the blue yarn from the row below to make it a bit firmer. And don't forget, we're going into the front loop only. And at the end of the row, it would be very easy to think you'd finished the row here, but actually there's the chain that we did right at the beginning of the previous row, and we need to go into that one too. And in fact, we need to do 2 into that last stitch, so that we're increasing 1 at each end of each row, so that the work gets bigger and bigger. So again, we're going to change colour, but this time I'm going to use the rose again, making sure I get the long bit, not the short bits there. And I'll pull that up and just pull it through, allowing this float to just go along the side. I don't want it to be too tight like that, otherwise it will ruin the edge, but just that much. And then I'm just going to do 1 chain and turn it round. Now, actually I need 2, don't I, because this is a half treble round as well, and I'm going to do another half treble into that same loop again, and then we kick off down the row into the front loop only, and you can see I hope that the doing it into the front loop makes the stitches look slightly different on both sides actually. So on this side we're getting these ridges. And again, when you get to the last stitch, we're going to do 2 into that last stitch, so that you can see we're going out at the sides. And the next row is, you guessed it, is the sky blue again. So we pull that one up from the bottom as we did with the rose previously, and hook it into that loop and just let it go up the side. They'll be hidden later on. So we just do 1 chain, because with the blue we're just going to do doubles, and again we're going to do 2 into the pink stitch at the bottom there, and then front loop only, doubles all the way down the line. And again at the last stitch we're going to do 2 into that last one. And if you lose count and you can't remember how many you've increased or done, you can just count. So turn the work on its side and look at the V's along here, and you just count those to make sure, and you're increasing 2 for each one, so 12, 14, 16, 18, so there's 20 in this row. And now we're going to do the slate again. So there it is, conveniently just lying there ready for us, and we pull that up and pull it through that last stitch. And with the slate we're going to do half treble, so we want 2 chains, and then a half treble into that very same loop that you've just been into there. Now for this third slate row, we're not going to do any shaping at all. We've got 26 stitches and we're just going to keep going into the front loop only, but we'll just do the regular amount of stitches because we've reached the apex of the shape, and now we're going to start decreasing on the next row. So this row's our central no shaping row. So on the next row, we're going to start decreasing. So I'm carrying on pulling that yarn up at the side, and 2 chains. So instead of going into this first stitch here, I'm going to, so not that one, I'm going to go into the next one, again front loop only. So I've missed a stitch, so we're going to start drawing the sides of our hexagon in, and we'll do the same at the other end of the row. And again at the end of this row there are 2 stitches left, and I'm going to miss that one and go into the one at the end. And then we're going to do a double round with, or a round of doubles if you like, with the sky blue. So turn round, and instead of going into the stitch at the base, I'm going to go into this one, front loop only again. And then all the way to the end. So the same thing at the end of this row, we're going to skip this last stitch and go into the top of the standing chain from the row below, and then it's a slate row again. So keep on doing that in the pattern that's been set until you get back to the 12 stitches that you started with. So now I'm going to do one more row of slate, but with double crochet and without shaping. So we're back down to our original 12 stitches. So I'm going to do 1 chain and then 1 double crochet in the front loop again, in each stitch, and that'll be our final row, and then we're going to fasten off. So I've fastened off all the colours, and before we do our blue border, I'm going to sew in some of these ends. It doesn't matter so much about the floats because they'll be taken in with the border. So I'm just going to work these ends along the side. It doesn't matter that they're different colours because we're going to do a stitch border around here. That's enough. So now we're going to work a border, and I'm going to start off with the sky blue, making a slip knot, and then joining to the top corner so that we can work along this edge. And we're going to do half trebles, so a 2 chain here, and then I'm going to skip 2 stitches and work 2 half trebles into the second space. Well, it's not the second space, it's the 1, 2, it's the third stitch, and then miss another 2 stitches and another 2 half trebles there. And again 1, 2, and into that third stitch. Until we've got 4 pairs of trebles, not trebles, half trebles. Oh, now into this corner space stitch, I'm going to do 1, 2 chains and then another into the same space. So that's what it's going to look like. So here the sides are slightly different, of course, because we can't count the stitches, but we've got the rows. So I'm going to do 2 half trebles here. We need 4 pairs evenly spaced along the row. So if I do another 2 here, working 1 stitch in from the edge, then into this row, and then into that space there. One, 2, 3, 4, and then a corner again. So I'm going to, and when you've done all the way round and you get back to this first one, we do another half treble into that same first space, then 2 chain and join with a slip stitch to the top of the 2 chain you did at the beginning. There we are. And this is hexagon number 15. There we are. Done.